If you got your first Doberman and you're already thinking, did I make a mistake? You didn't, but you might be making a few totally normal first-time mistakes that can have big consequences. Mistakes that accidentally teach your Doberman to ignore you, push limits, or stay wired all day long. And the scary part is, these mistakes don't look like mistakes. They look like love. They look like being nice. They look like, I'm trying. So if you're a first-time Doberman owner and your Doberman is acting stubborn, mouthy, selective listening, or just too much to handle, this video is gonna feel like a bit of relief for you. I'm gonna show you the biggest traps that new Doberman owners fall into and exactly what to do instead so that your dog becomes calmer, more responsive, and a whole lot easier to live with. Because Dobermans aren't hard dogs. They're different dogs, and they always reflect back what you've been teaching them, even accidentally. Let's fix it. Mistake number 1, repeating commands until they mean nothing. If you're repeating commands over and over to your Doberman when they stop listening because, well, sometimes on the third try, they'll partially listen. You know, something like this: sit, 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 Arlo, sit. You're making a huge mistake, and you're actually, believe it or not, teaching your Doberman that obedience is really quite optional. In fact, you're teaching that this command is actually more like background noise, and that the response to it isn't even really clear what you're asking. And it's very reasonable to assume that you'll quickly have a Doberman who doesn't listen to you and will see everything in their environment as something much more interesting than responding to you is. And the fix here is really simple. You give your Doberman one cue, and it can be a verbal cue. You can even combine that with a visual cue. That's fine, but you give it to them one time. Then you pause and you give them a chance to respond appropriately. And then you help them succeed. And if they're not fully reliable in this command yet, then you don't expect a full command response. You expect a partial response. You guide them into the position if it's a heel command. You guide them in a position if it's a sit command. If it was a come command, then you bring the leash over, you click it onto their collar, and you bring them back to your location. You ensure success every single time you give a command. There's never going to be no response with any command that you give your Doberman. A response should always be present. What will vary, though, is the amount of assistance that your Doberman requires to complete it. If you can't enforce it, don't say it, at least not yet. Mistake number 2, too much freedom too early. Another really common mistake that Doberman owners do is giving too much freedom to their Doberman too early. So what this looks like is your Doberman is still really young, let's say under 6 months of age, and you're giving them full house access very quickly when they first get into your home. Unsupervised roaming while you're gone, and maybe even unsupervised while you're asleep or just not paying attention. There's a few reasons why this is a bad thing. Number 1 is potty training. When they're really young, if you open up the area too fast, they're gonna not see any part of the house as their den, and they're very quickly have a lot of accidents in the house. Also, when they're brand new and they don't understand the boundaries and the limits inside the house, they're gonna practice bad habits like, 200 times a day with no supervision. And they don't really have anyone to guide them around these things. So before you know it, you're not paying attention for 5-10 minutes. Guess what? They've just reinforced a negative habit, and it's gonna be a lot harder to break them of it early on. So the answer to this is really simple. Just provide them lots of guidance, especially early on, and give them more freedom in stages. That way you're sure to correct negative behaviors when you see it and before it really gets a whole lot worse. This means using things like a leash indoors initially, utilizing their pen when you can't pay attention to them for a few minutes, lots of gentle guidance when they're young. This stuff is very important early on. Mistake number 3, accidentally rewarding pushy behavior. So what does this look like? This looks like your Doberman demanding things of you and you caving in. It's pretty simple. And a really common one for this is, let's say you have a Zoom meeting. You're one of these work from home folks. There's a lot of you out there right now, and they start barking during the Zoom call, going crazy, right? And they go until you respond to them. You come over, maybe you give them a little toy, try to calm them down, you get them on their bed, you pet them for a second, maybe a treat. You're like, please be quiet while I'm on my Zoom meeting. And this backfires. Why does this backfire? Well, they wanted engagement from you. They went crazy. And you engaged. You came over, you gave them a treat, you gave them a pet, you gave them a toy, you hung out with them on their bed. It worked for them. So that's why it backfires. They learn that, and then next time they'll do it again, but even worse. And then when you don't respond because you're trying to train them, you get a behavior burst. So they do even harder, trying to break you. It's a really slippery slope with this breed. The fix to this is to teach them that calm and good behavior gets them what they want. But this is really easy to miss because it requires attention from you. When you see them doing something like laying down calmly next to you and not forcing their way up into your lap, you need to notice that, not just ignore it, pet them, give them a little bit of attention. When they're doing things that you like relaxing next to you, you don't just go, oh gosh, this is a perfect break. Finally, they've been so much today, I'm gonna relax. No, you need to notice that behavior and reinforce it with some attention. That's how you'll get that behavior to repeat. Another way to help here is to make access to things like your attention, their treats, or their toys very predictable. It comes out at the same time every day. Certain toys are available all the time. Certain toys come out when only special things are happening, and it's always predictable, not randomly when you just think, oh, they kind of need something right now. Mistake number 4, extended training sessions. I know you want to do what's right and you want to train your Doberman as much as possible, but really extended, long, grueling training sessions, especially when your Doberman's a young puppy, will kill their drive. Dobermans are more sensitive than a lot of people really think, and they do get mental overload easily, and then they're just a mess. The fix here is actually easier on you too. Keep training sessions short and snappy. Start quick, start intensely, end quick and end intensely, and end it when they're still focused on you and they're still excited about it. Don't end it when they start getting sloppy. Ensure that they've had a lot of success during this session also on every command you practice, because this really helps unlock the habit-forming tendencies of this breed, which is huge for reinforcement of any command or any behavior you're teaching them. If you end with them wanting more and before they get distracted, then next training session, they're gonna be excited to do it, they're gonna be more focused on you, and their responses are gonna be snappier. And before you know it, you'll have a really consistently well-responding Doberman. This is huge with Dobermans. This is how people end up with those Dobermans who, execute commands just so perfectly, almost like a military type response. Before we move on real quick, guys, this part matters more than honestly most new Doberman owners realize. When you're dealing with a Doberman who just, feels stubborn or wired or like they just can't hold it together, the truth is that sometimes your dog isn't just refusing you, they're running out of mental fuel. Mental performance has a real foundation, and if the foundation here is shaky, your training feels just 10 times harder than it needs to be. So if you're thinking, okay, John, what do I actually do with that? Well, one of the simplest places to start is really just the basics. Consistent, high quality fueling for your Doberman. Because no, obviously food doesn't train your Doberman for you, but a Doberman that's underfueled with inconsistent energy or not getting the right nutrients is way more likely to just look distracted all day long and restless and just check out mentally. And that's one reason that we've chosen here at Doberman Planet to partner with Ollie. Because Ollie makes some of the best fresh human grade dog food that's portioned for your Doberman. It's based on things like their size, their activity level, and their specific needs. So you're not just like standing in the kitchen trying to become, a dog nutritionist, mixing things together while you're also trying to survive the puppy stage. And our audience of Doberman owners use Ollie a lot, and they really rely on it now. When you remove all that guesswork and you give your dog, consistent quality fuel, you're supporting the part of them that really you're asking the most from every single day, their brain. So here's what to do. If you want to try Ollie for yourself, just go to dobermanplanet.com/freshfood. That link will take you straight to Ollie's website, and you can use our coupon code while you're there as well, Doberman Planet, all caps, and it'll get you 60% off your very first box. That's the code that we use, so please, you can use it too. And I'll also make it easy for you, I'll drop the link in the first comment right below this video. Mistake number 5. Socialization equals chaos instead of confidence. This is when you are so focused on socializing your Doberman that it's just too much, too fast, and too intense for your young dog. Taking them to things like really packed dog parks right out of the gate, really loud, busy stores, and forced greetings with other people. There's 2 ways this can really backfire. One is Dobermans are super sensitive, they're very aware of their surroundings, and they overload easy. So a sensitive dog who's overwhelmed, it could really turn into a possible reactivity issue later on, and they could be very reactive to people out in public or other dogs. But more than likely than that is the possibility of them just thinking the world is their play toy. Even if the dog grows up to be a super accepting dog because of all socialization, too much of it being forced in these situations all the time with no self-control being taught really can lead to them being just uncontrollable in public and just wanting to play with everything and everyone. So here's the fix to it. Exposure without pressure. Expose them to new things, but don't pressure them into it. Definitely don't ever drag them by the leash into a situation that they don't want. That's how you can end up with a reactive Doberman. And distance is your friend. Start from far away from crowded places and slowly move forward, making sure that they're always calm and relaxed before you get a little closer. Also, remember to reward neutrality when they're in public places. Reward them when they just pass somebody without having a reaction and even without greeting them. I love the ratio of 3 to 1. So pass 3 people for every one that you allow them to greet. This really helps teach them self-control, and you reward them as they pass these people. It makes a huge difference for the Doberman breed. It'll just, trust me, it's gonna save you huge headaches when the dog's older. Dobermans can have tons of self-control, and this is how you build it. Otherwise, it can be a free-for-all when they're older. Mistake number 6, inconsistent boundaries. So what does this look like? It looks like things like sometimes they're allowed on the couch without you giving a command, and sometimes you need to give a command. Sometimes you enforce a command you give them and make sure it happens and you get a response out of it. And sometimes it's a long day of work and you're tired, and so you let this one slide. This backfires because now you're teaching confusion and not respect for your position as their guide or their leader. And the Doberman will kind of become your little in-house negotiator, and they will negotiate with you on everything. And trust me, they're way better at negotiations than you are. And they will stick to their new boundaries that are in their favor, but they won't stick to yours. And Dobermans have amazing memories. Don't expect them to forget these things. So the fix here is to decide your rules and your boundaries in certain situations and enforce it every single time. Enforce it consistently and of course kindly too, but you definitely want to be very consistent. And if you want to be flexible, do it after they comply with something with a little bit of a delay. But do it on your timeline. Ask something of them first, successful completion, they get a reward, then you can be a little flexible with something after that. Mistake number 7, trying to out-exercise a smart working dog. So what does this look like? This looks like your Doberman's chewing on things, they're restless all the time, they're pacing around your house and they're crying, and you just keep exercising them more and more and more. Endless fetch over and over, super long walks multiple times a day, and it's not going away. So what does this do? This helps turn your Doberman into quite the athlete, but not a calm dog. Okay, so the fix here on this one. If they're not calming down all day long, the only answer isn't just physical exercise. Yes, that's missed often, but also, you know what's sometimes missed even more than that? Is training the brain. You could be missing that. This means command training where you're always upping the bar, always pushing it a little bit to get a little bit more complex commands out of your dog. Short reps on these commands, agility work, puzzle games, scent games, anything that really engages their brain. And you can combine things like structured walks, then 5 minutes of obedience training, then a little decompression time. You can kind of move these all together in a daily flow. And flow is what matters most here with a Doberman. Finding a flow that works for you and your dog where you see the least anxiety and the most contentment. Making sure the brain is engaged as well as the body, that's how you build the ideal Doberman. If you're a new Doberman owner, tell me in the comments which mistake that you think you've been making, and trust me, there'll be no judgment for me. I like reading them, and they really do help me decide what videos to make next that will help you the most. And I've got another video popping up on your screen that really pairs perfectly with this. Watch that one next and you'll feel way more confident by the end of it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you on the next one.